Hello, guys, and welcome back to the CFC Chat YouTube channel. Well, this is the first ever preview on this channel, and we're going to be previewing the Leicester City versus Chelsea game ahead of kickoff. And if you did miss our previous video, the first ever video on this channel, you can check it out as well. It was on the Fikayo Tomori situation, which was released just a short while back. Now, moving on to the game, let's get straight into it without further ado. I think Chelsea, we did beat Fulham last time out in a 1-0 victory. Well, far from convincing, wasn't it? But I think we got the job done. We got the 3 points, we got a clean sheet, so it was a pretty good result. Of course, with Fulham being unbeaten in a good number of games. And well, it was against 10-man Fulham though, and against relegation fodder. I don't think 1-0 was a promising scoreline. I think most of our players looked off colour, except of course Mason Mount, who had an excellent game alongside Thiago Silva. I think both of them had a pretty good game, and our recent run hasn't been great either. I think we need to get a bit of our confidence back. I think the issue is a lot of players losing confidence at once, and I think that is the main reason for our poor form of late. So a win against a top side like Leicester would do us a world of good, but let's hope we can get it. Now, going straight into the Leicester side, they have been unbeaten for 6 games now in all competitions. Their last defeat was at home at the hands of Carlo Ancelotti's Everton, where of course they lost 2-0. And against the top sides, well, Leicester do set up. On paper, it says a 4-2-3-1, but while defending, it does look more like a 5 at the back. And I think that, well, they do go very defensive. They sit very, very deep. So I don't think we're going to have a lot of space to make those runs in behind the defense. I think we're going to have to dig deep if we're to get anything out of this game, really. I think they make it so hard for the opposition to even have a shot on target. So I think that we have to be clinical in this game, unlike how we were against Fulham. And this seems to have worked for Leicester, right? They beat City 5-2. And then they beat Spurs 2-0 recently as well, and they got a 2-2 result out of the game against the league leaders Manchester United. So I think that Leicester City, they are a force to be reckoned with this season. Of course, they're finishing so high. I think they even went ahead of Liverpool before their game, before Liverpool took on Manchester United in the Premier League. So they are, of course, no rollover side like they once were. They are now a proper established side looking to get into the top 4, which they missed out so close last season. I think they had it in the bag, but then some poor results along the way, and they fell out of the top 4 right towards the very end, losing 4-1 to relegated Bournemouth as well. So I think this time around they're gonna want to finish top 4. They're gonna take every game by the scruff of its neck, and I think that tomorrow is gonna be no different. I think that a victory in this would do us a world of good, especially because we've struggled against top sides this season. We've struggled massively. I think we lost at home to Liverpool. Regardless, it was because we were reduced to 10 men, and of course a Kepa Arrizabalaga error, but we still lost at home to them. We've lost at home to City. We drew against Spurs, we drew against United, we drew against Southampton. So it doesn't look good on paper. But I think we have to grind it out. We have to try our best. We have to keep the momentum going with our victory against Fulham. Once we start building those wins, I think that's when we can be the force. We can, be a force to be reckoned with, which we were at the beginning of the season in our 17-match unbeaten run. Well, let's head straight into our, starting 11 for this game. I think I'm going to give my personal starting 11, which I would want to see, and not what I think Lampard will put out. So I think that this is, of course, being recorded after the press conference. So we do know that N'Golo Kante is going to miss out, as Frank Lampard confirmed in the press conference earlier today. So first things first, in goal, of course, it has to be Edouard Mendy. He has looked very, very shaky. I think even against Fulham, there was a sort of miscommunication with Azpilicueta, and then he has not been the same consistent performer as he was earlier in the season. I think even against Wolves and even against Man City, I mean, we were completely bamboozled by Man City, but in all of those games, he didn't look confident, he didn't look as commanding as he was earlier on in the season. So I think that he's got to fix up, because he's going to have to make some tough decisions tomorrow, especially if Vardy could break through our defense. He's got to be quick to come off his line. He's got to be, very decisive in winning the ball. I think if we can look back at a sort of goal that we can be expecting, it was how we conceded Patrick Bamford's goal against Leeds. I think Calvin Phillips won the ball back and then played a brilliant pass, and then Patrick Bamford was on his feet and Edouard Mendy came off his line but missed the ball. Not to mention that our defenders were scrambling there as well. But all in all, Patrick Bamford basically had an empty net to pass the ball into later on. So this is what Jamie Vardy could do to our defense, which is why Edouard Mendy has to be quick off his line and he has to have a great game. The back four, I think Reece James comes back. I think he was on our bench in our victory against Fulham too, so I think Reece James has to start this one. And for the defensive partnership, I'm not going to change the other three. In fact, I'm going to go with Thiago Silva. Antonio Rudiger as well. I think in the last season he hasn't been great, but this time around, every time he's come, he's done excellently. I think he was pretty impeccable against Fulham too. So I'm going to keep that partnership, and I'm going to keep Ben Chilwell in the left back position. Moving on to midfield, this is the tricky part. I'm going to go with a midfield of Gilmour, Mount and Havertz. I know that this doesn't look great defensively, and I completely agree, but Jorginho was so poor against Fulham. Even Kovacic didn't have his best of his games against Fulham, and especially with a side that sits so deep and mainly hits on the counter. I don't think Kovacic is of much use. His main attribute, of course, is press resistance and his dribbling ability. So I don't think this is going to be the best game for either of them. N'Golo Kante, of course, as we know, is suspended, and not that he wasn't contention, but Danny Drinkwater is also completed a loan to a side in Turkey, so he is out of our game this week. So I think that the midfield that I'm going to go for is Mount, Gilmour and Havertz, but I don't think Lampard is going to start this midfield, but we'll get into that later. Let's stick to my lineup at the moment. And of course, we have seen in the past few games that Mount is playing in a much deeper role, even in that midfield three. I think we saw that against Morecambe, even in Fulham, right? He basically finished the game in a double pivot with Mateo Kovacic, because we saw that we basically finished the game with Pulisic on the left, Werner and Tabby up front, and Hudson-Odoi on the right, and Mount and Kovacic were our two midfielders. So I think we have seen that he could get the job done in a pivot, and I think that this game, although it looks 4-3-3 on paper, I think Mount is probably going to be closer to Gilmour, while Havertz goes more up front, like how he did against Morecambe. Against Morecambe, we did see him getting into the box. He got the assist for Werner's goal and also scored a goal of his own, a header. So I think that Havertz will probably be the one to get into the box and support the attacker, while Mount and Gilmour are sort of sit deep a little behind to provide defensive cover. After that, in attack, we have got Ziyech on the right. I think he came off against Fulham as well after a sizable amount of time, so I think he's going to start. On the left though, it's going to be Hudson-Odoi for me. Pulisic hasn't looked great of late, and he did play the full 90 against Fulham too, so it's going to be those two, and the man to lead the line is going to have to be Tammy Abraham. He's had such an underrated season. I think that he's arguably been one of our best players when he's been called upon. His link-up play has been decent. I think he's got a fair couple of goals as well. So I think that Tammy Abraham has to be the one to start up front for us. However, I think that there will be a few surprises that Lampard is going to throw at us in this game. I think that for starters, it could really be a Zuma-Rudiger partnership. Now, I know that we play Luton Town in the FA Cup as our next game on the weekend, and Thiago Silva is most definitely going to be rested for that game, but he has played a game just 3 days before, and we don't want to risk anything happening to Thiago Silva. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was rested, although he might not be. But I think it could be Zouma Rudiger. Also taking into account that Thiago Silva at this age is pretty slow while tracking back, and especially if we play a high line, I think he has a huge tendency to get caught out with the runs of JB Vardy. And I think Zouma and Rudiger, both of them are quite athletic, both of them are quite pacey as well. So I think that both of them could, prevent, even if Vardy does get in between both of them, one of them could probably track back along with Vardy. And Zuma's set piece threat was also missed against Fulham. I think there were quite a lot of headers from Rudiger, but none of which really came off. But Kurt Zouma from corners, just boom, it's gonna go straight into the back of the net. So I think that could be one of the wild cards. The other one could be the inclusion of either Jorginho or Kovacic instead of Gilmour in that lineup. I don't think it's going to be Kovacic as a 6, but Kovacic could play as one of the 8s along with Jorginho sitting as the deepest midfielder. Now, I'm not saying this is my lineup once again, I'm just saying what it could be. Let's hope that we can finally see a Gilmour Mount Havertz lineup. It is defensively susceptible, but if everyone plays their roles correctly, I think that we could get job done. All that's left is the prediction. And I'm never too optimistic in these predictions because I believe in jinxing. I feel like I've jinxed a lot of games in the past, so I'm going to take the slightly ambivalent approach, if you were, and I'm going to go for a draw. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. That's my prediction. So I think that we can get a draw out of this game. I'm not too confident about it though. I can see us losing this game as well, but it would do us a world of good to win this game. I think it would instill so much confidence in our side once again, got some confidence that we have been lacking. So I think that a win would do us a world of good, but I personally predict a draw, and it wouldn't be the worst result because so many teams have gone to Leicester and come away with nothing, and I think that a draw wouldn't be the worst result at all. And it is important for us not to overreact even if it is a draw, because we can't go and win every game. That brings us to the end of the video. If you did like the video, of course, as always, remember to leave a like. Remember to comment your thoughts down there, your prediction and your lineup in the comment section, and hit the subscribe button and the bell notification if you don't want to miss any of our new videos which we have lined up. So thank you so much for listening, guys. Take care, and hopefully we can get the win. I will be doing a review of the game as well, which will be out soon after the game is done. So hopefully we have something cheerful to talk about then. See ya.